Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back. And we're coming into our second set of the day. And we've got daehiise versus Nillis in Group C. And let's let them get straight underway with the draft. So daehiise as the higher seed will go first. Sorting out the maps.
So we're banning a map first in this case.
So starting off with a ban of Nomad. So Pete, as a teammate of daehiise, you will perhaps have a bit more insight into what we might expect.
Yeah, I think if you knew this was very much going to be expected. I'm not very much of a Nomad fan.
Yeah, I think I've gathered that. I think I've gathered that so far. Nillis hasn't played a set yet this tournament, so
yeah, this is a fresh start for him. We have no idea what we're going to be seeing.
Yep,
As mentioned, he's got a few surprises up his sleeves, so we're excited to see what those might be.
and banning Kawasan.
Oh, really? Okay.
So getting rid of some of the water maps so far.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one to play. A lot of split, different ways it could go. It's a bit of a tricky one to prepare for, perhaps.
As daehiise decides to dismantle the drafting table rather than picking from it, always helpful. And she picks Fortified Clearing.
Okay. So we might need to get our clown noses on.
Get the wigs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Maybe get Boo in to give us a show.
He likes being on camera. Yeah, he's waving at us. Hi.
So yeah, Fortified Clearing, quite arena-esque in a lot of ways, but has a little bit of extra dynamic possibilities with the space around the sides.
Same sort of things we'd expect on arena, though, nonetheless, I think.
Yeah, a lot of the same civs and general approaches will have strength. And Nillis picking Neon.
Okay, that's an aggressive open map.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've seen it while we've been here, I think.
Yeah, we didn't see it last set. So it is, of course, the map specifically designed for this tournament by our very own Vinny. We've seen it a couple of times in the tournament so far, and it's just exciting to see its own meta being developed. daehiise banning Hideout.
Okay, yeah. It's another bit of a messy map, that one.
Yeah, potentially a bit odd to see picking Fortified Clearing and then banning the other outright closed map. But
I guess maybe it's because it's not quite closed and still favours that aggressive style.
Yeah.
Maybe that shows a bit more what we've been expecting on Fortified Clearing, perhaps.
Yeah, it can play quite differently.
Banning Arabia.
Ooh. So again, picking Neon, one open land map, but then banning another open land map straight after.
Maybe there's something prepared for Neon, perhaps, but a more standard map like Arabia, not too confident on against the higher seed.
Yeah, especially when you've got potentially that bit of disparity in rating. You sometimes don't want to risk picking something that everyone will be comfortable on or familiar with, at least.
So one person bans the hybrid water maps, the other person picks it for their home map. Was that second ban?
That's the second ban.
Never mind. I'm sure.
So no water today. No water. We're going to remain dry. I know for you that's very disappointing.
Yeah, we like a good water map.
So it leaves Nillis with a choice between LAN Madness and Morass for the neutral map here.
And we saw from daihise's previous set that Morass was quite a strong map, but he seems to have banned LAN Madness instead.
So Morass will be game one. So we just had that really exciting game between Akal and Wild. Completely chaotic.
Do you think we're going to see another full Dark Age?
Maybe not quite a full Dark Age, but I think we'll see certainly aggression, potentially.
I hope to see a lot of men-at-arms, a lot of swords.
Yeah, I think that's the meta we saw develop in the sort of pro-level tournaments when they played Morass. A lot of men-at-arms, towers, forward archery ranges, that kind of thing.
Just a big mess.
Yeah.
No, you're not expecting scout play so much?
No, probably not. But then, like I say, we've not seen Nillis on this map pool, so
we've not seen Nillis at all yet.
No, so he might have some different ideas up his sleeve. Both these players, well known for being big preppers.
Yes, we've seen the spreadsheets.
They've really committed to the spirit of the tournament and getting stuck in. As we are going to move on to the Civ draft in just a moment, both players perhaps just taking a second to get their bearings. Goths as the first ban.
I think that can make some sense. It's a tricky one to deal with, especially you don't want just things to get out of hand really with them.
Yeah, especially a map like Morass.
Yeah, the flood can just keep going.
Yeah, the combination of cheap men-at-arms, faster production, it's nasty to deal with, and Turks being banned by Nillis. Suspect that's geared towards Fortified Clearing.
It's a very sensible ban, I think. Everyone knows the power of the Jannies.
Yeah, even with the little nerf they've had.
That patch is live, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So playing on the current patch. So Turks, Janissary's a bit weaker now, but the Civ's still overall very strong for a map like Fortified Clearing.
You don't really want to be fighting them with mangonels or monks, really, do you?
No, and obviously options like being able to raid around the sides with the high pierce armor hussar, those quick imp pushes are still very deadly.
And yeah, there's a lot of different aspects to that map, and the one-dimensional push is still strong through the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. So going to be getting some of the picks now from the players. Of course, they do have the snipe in the middle of the draft, so there perhaps needs to be a little bit of thought given to flexibility or how they might.
But, 3 picks before the snipe, you still get a good chance to pick civs that you really want for that map. So
Marlians.
First pick Marlians is very flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. So Marlians currently in a very, very in vogue at the moment as a civilization.
They always are. I'm pretty sure Viper always has them in S tier.
Yeah. But yeah, absolutely across. Especially I think Morass and Neom, I can see either map.
Either way. Not so sure about Fortified Clearing, I would say.
Yeah, probably not where I'd see them being used, but Morass, potentially high pierce armor, men-at-arms, that kind of play. Neom, they've got good cavalry flexibility. The gold lasting longer and being better value for them, really nice before you have to move out to the sides.
And yeah, again, they also have the flexibility to play double gold army, so really aggressive sort of strategies on an open map like this.
And Lithuanians for Nillis,
okay.
So another again very flexible.
That can go at any of the maps.
Yeah,
honestly. That can play Fortified Clearing as well.
There's
a lot of relics on that map.
There's rarely a map pool where Lithuanians don't offer value.
Yeah, I struggle to think of something.
They're very comfortable with that 100 extra food at the start. Getting 100 extra food per TC in the mid game now is a really nice bonus to smooth out. If you're adding TCs and booming.
Second pick for Nillis here.
Japanese.
That's a strong pick. Yeah.
So we've seen Japanese on Morass a couple of times throughout the tournament already.
Looked very strong.
Yeah.
Possibly that could be a snipe. Honestly.
Yeah. The combination of the cheap.
The cheap buildings.
The cheap economic buildings, being able to get that mill nice and quickly.
The strong men-at-arms for the timing attacks.
Yeah.
And just generally the expansion around the sides for a map like this is really... Yeah, that snowballs very fast. And
they offer a bit of flexibility going into the mid-game as well, being able to play knights, cav archers, crossbow.
Monks, siege.
Yeah. They've... in the mid-game, they've not really got a weak area of their tech tree, so great for a map like Morass.
For sure. But daehiise just now thinking about her pick, so maybe you'd think for one of the home maps, possibly.
Yeah, it's always an interesting balance with play all 3 like this. How do you focus your civ picks? Do you try and really go hard on your home map? Do you really go in for the neutral map?
Especially when you consider losing your first set, the play all 3 starts to matter. So you don't necessarily want to give up a map.
As daehiise goes for Cumans.
Cumans, that's interesting.
So that I can see that fitting on any of the maps. Morass, we have seen it from some of the top level players before, that second TC on the fish, lots of food in really quickly and then turn that into a castle age push.
Do you want to pick that against something like Japanese?
It comes with its challenges, but obviously once the TC's actually up.
It's very safe.
Yeah, and Magyars as well coming in.
So that's some 2 strong picks there. Obviously we didn't mention, but Cumans on Fortified Clearing, potentially.
Yeah, the options 2 TC boom into potentially castle aggression.
Speaking of in vogue, we've seen Masters of Arena, I think, that's been picked quite heavily.
Yeah.
It's been not been banned, obviously.
And then
Magyars, as you were going to say.
They're just a classic, sort of friendly civ to play. They've got some really, especially I could see them fitting well on Neom. Yep. Scout Knight play, the extra attack. The cheap scouts, just really straightforward and comfortable. and that's Franks for Nillis.
Putting this to his final pick before the snipe phase.
So
Franks again.
Again,
Very
smells like a Neom pick, doesn't it?
You just almost treat Neom as Arabia, and yeah, you know what you're going to get.
And they're just revealing their snipes to Walt. So obviously working without captain's mode here, we're just doing things a little bit manually, but like in the good old days.
Analog. So snipe, who looks like Japanese, been sniped against Nillis, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And we're just waiting to see what Nillis has sniped for daehiise. Do you think he tried to snipe Goths? No one wants to play that safe.
So Marlian,
okay.
as daehiise makes attempts once again to destroy the whole board.
Is this an ambient loss we're thinking about?
I mean, can't be far away. Can't be far away.
There's got to be some rules about respect, honestly.
This fine piece of craftsmanship, of course, put together by our very own Grandy, put together mostly last year for the LAN tournament, but
and still looking amazing.
It's honestly fantastic.
I think the lowest quality production here is us.
Oh yeah,
easily.
Why do you think we're hiding our faces?
So Marlian sniped. So we've got two civs that are fairly comfortable. They've removed a flexible civ.
Yeah.
So now we'll see, what we've got left after this.
Yeah, and there's always that interesting bit of mind gamesmanship with the snipe of, do you remove something, potentially OP, where your opponent has a strong, clear approach, or do you remove something where you're actually a bit uncertain how they might get used?
Simplifying how you want to plan for the rest of it. Yeah. So we've got Portuguese now for Nillis. That also looks a bit like a clowny civ, but I mean, recently it's also very good on the open maps as well. Yeah,
that bonus with getting wood from the berries smooths out their early game a lot. Like you mentioned with Marlians, Portuguese are great for playing
pretty much
gold.
Anything.
Well, yeah, but so double gold compositions in the mid game.
I know that's something that Daisy's a big fan of, I think generally, so she'll be a bit sad that she can't pick that.
So yeah, and yeah, for Fortified Clearing, they come across as an excellent option. They've got great monks, they've got great siege, they've got that option of organ guns in the mid game if you want to go that way.
They still have the Bloodlines cavalry to play around the sides for the late game.
Yeah.
Halbs, obviously.
Yeah, just
it's really strong all round.
An all-round good civ.
You're going to see some fast Infatoria play, perhaps. Maybe not in this setting. Maybe.
I don't know. That would be exciting.
Maybe in the lobby games later.
I would be very much keen to see that. Bulgarians for daehiise.
Pick.
I suspect that's a bit of a Morass backup.
You think it's a takeaway, maybe?
Possibly. But I'm thinking, if perhaps she was thinking of using Marlians on Morass, Bulgarians could fit that similar style.
Possibly, yeah.
Obviously 3 men-at-arms upgrade, and then mid-game, they've got great cavalry. They've got the cheap blacksmith upgrades. They can play around the sides.
The only thing they're missing is the crossbow.
Yeah.
Which does hurt a bit.
It does. And Burgundians.
That's a nice pick at the end of the draft.
Yeah, really like to see Burgundians. In my head, I'd be thinking Fortified Clearing.
Yep.
They remain one of the sort of standout closed map civilizations.
Definitely, of course, yeah. In the strong economy, the army comp that they can get at a very fast rate as well.
Yeah.
Fast paladins, the gunpowder early.
And especially with Fortified Clearing, there are so many relics on the map that food bonus.
Extra food, yeah.
Yeah, the food bonus does actually pay off really effectively.
Potentially Lithuanians and Burgundians, we could have a very map control focused game here.
Yeah. And so Nillis has one final pick, just mulling it over. Khmer. We love Khmer. Again, they fit into that mold of flexible, good eco.
Bit less flexible than some of the other civs picked, I think, but yeah, definitely. I wouldn't really see them on Fortified Clearing, I don't think, in this case.
Maybe not, but
some of those aggressive maps.
Yeah, a map like Neon, they would stick out as a really good option potentially. Even on Morass, you might think about doing something.
Yeah, Morass is a good shout because we had Japanese sniped, obviously. So we need another civ there that can fill that role.
Yeah, and being able to garrison your villas in the houses. If you put a house or two on the fish,
Potentially very strong, yeah.
It can just buy you that bit more time to save villagers.
You think we're going to see some of that, fighting each other's base at the same time sort of thing?
Potentially. It's the right kind of map for it.
You have to be brave, though, to do that.
Yeah, it requires a lot of guts to go for that sort of
Trust in yourself.
multitasking approach.
Yep.
And
We've zoomed out back now to the LAN.
yeah, so for those just joining us, welcome. It's been, well, we're now about a day into proceedings. We've got a lot going on today as well as the training grounds 2 sets. We've got
Dodgeball tournament.
Dodgeball tournament
Are you going
later.
to take part?
Potentially.
Yeah.
I might have to be doing a bit more prep for the pub quiz, which follows on afterwards.
Well, you're looking up some random pop culture trivia.
Oh no, I'm running it.
Oh, you're running it?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I need to tell Grandy what I need. And then some community games tonight as well with Crab Game. Was great fun last year.
Yep.
It's just a great community engagement event.
We
Chaotic.
also got some people playing board games in the back there. That was very fun yesterday.
Yeah, no, it's been wonderful to see old faces, familiar faces, new faces.
People that have nothing to do with the game as well, just turning up and having fun.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. So both players just looking off into the distance. Looks like they are in the lobby.
Yep.
Just getting themselves ready.
Psyching yourself, getting yourself into the right mind space to play some Morass.
Yeah, and it's a different challenge as well. Dealing with stuff going on around you. If you're used to playing in the comfort of your own home, perhaps in a private office or bedroom or whatever, where you might have nobody else around you.
It's a very different
your own
setting.
vibe. Yeah. You've got to deal with people walking past.
A lot more pressure. You got people shit talking on camera.
Exactly. Looking over. You might have someone looking over your shoulder as well while you're playing.
Or 10.
Yeah.
Got some pro players walking around.
It's a wonderful mix. But it can just.
It does give a bit of pressure.
It does.
A bit more than your average set.
But I sort of trust both players once they get kicked off, can just.
Both players have played a few tournament sets in their life. I know daehiise played a lot of tournaments. Nillis has been playing quite a lot recently as well.
Yeah, they're both active. They're both keen students of the game as well, from what I've seen.
Look, we can see the spreadsheet there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Zoom in.
So Nillis obviously played last year's training grounds and did fantastically well.
Yeah.
Reached the semi-final of the lower bracket.
And he's peaked 200 elo since then.
Yep, he's been improving massively, and seems to really
currently at the best he's ever played.
Yeah,
looking strong in practice.
There's real motivation for him. So even though he is the lower seed in this matchup, it's very much not one to write off.
There's also a question mark because we've not seen him play at all yet. So we see the zip picks, but that doesn't mean a whole lot until we're in game.
No, and daehiise, perhaps better known as a team game player.
Yes.
That's more her comfort zone, what she plays more often. But does
she ventures into 1v1s not so frequently, but she's been very successful when she does. Not at her highest rating currently, but there's a lot more potential there.
Yeah.
We saw a practice game earlier where she beat a higher rated player, so no pressure on her there.
But that's again something we've talked about in this tournament a lot, is some of these players perhaps having to deal with a bit of the pressure of being the higher rated player, the favourite for a set, more than they maybe otherwise would. So it carries different expectations going into a set.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see if that affects them in any way. So hopefully they're not too shaky.
Yeah.
They got some good sleep last night after the games last night. So they got quite late.
Yes, yeah. It's not an early night type of event.
Depends on your perspective. 4 AM frontline is iconic.
And it doesn't. It's not really the kind of soporific effect though you usually want. Just before bed, it tends to actually get the adrenaline going. That one.
It looks like we're about to be in game, so.
Sharp eyes spotting the countdown from a good 10 meters away.
It's worth it.
It's just also it's just lovely to see the sheer variety going on around the hall. we've got people playing team games, 1v1s.
I think some CS:GO, seen some Trackmania, other games being played.
Yeah, it's
I think we had like what 3 4v4s on yesterday at some point at the same time.
Yeah,
all different people playing.
I can hear some noises. I can hear some wood cutting.
Looks like we're in game.
So, welcome. We have got Morass here, our neutral map, and we're starting off with Nillis in the green as Lithuanians, playing against daehiise in the yellow as Bulgarians.
And right into the shorefish in this, right at the start of the game. This looks like someone that knows what they're doing on this map.
Yep, so for those who don't know the map, it is very much focused around this central area where you have, as Grandy is highlighting, a lot of shorefish.
And for those that don't know, shorefish are some of the fastest resources that you can gather from food at the start of the game in the Dark Age. So it's really important for this control so that you can actually keep taking the fast food income and really start to snowball the economy lead.
Yeah, so it looks like daehiise has figured out a bit of a build here where going straight for the shorefish rather than faffing about with sheep underneath the TC, get straight onto that really quick source of food and focus probably, you'd expect then, on a quick up time to follow.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like Nillis has gone for a similar sort of approach, taking a very early ball. That will also help speed up. With Lithuanians getting extra food at the start of the game, it looks like he's gone to wood a little bit earlier as well. So some preparation there as well, for sure.
Yep, and it looks like Nillis is also working out to the shorefish as well. So I think we're going to see action in that area there. Both players, it's quite a short route between the two players.
A very aggressive rush distance timing sort of thing. So
yeah,
look for that early timing attack even.
Oh, daehiise just managing bills around the board in the TC, just a little bit awkward when you've got those lower numbers, but does so successfully. And so both players just working towards that quick up time. We've seen a lot of men-at-arms play on this map so far. Seeing Bulgarians, it's...
What else can you do?
It's what you expect.
If you go scouts, it just feels a bit sad.
Yeah, and daehiise scouts the mill from Nillis, so...
But also scouting that there's only 2 vills there, so yeah, just giving it a nice little tap there, just know that he knows that she knows that she's there.
Yeah. It's just worth testing, see if there are any nerves around.
Yeah, but his scout's there as well, and trading that scout HP to annoy a villager, is that really worth it at this point? When you're looking at that aggressive sort of timing play, you want all the HP.
It's the constant sort of trade-off you're looking at, isn't it? And some really good hits there for daehiise, so
evened it out,
good early engagements for daehiise there.
Now she's going to chase that scout away with the HP advantage. Loom's done now for Nillis. So maybe he's worried a bit about that early aggression.
Possibly, yeah. Not sure if it was a sort of housed loom or a...
he's not got any idle TC time.
Okay, so
it's not a panic reaction.
So probably, just wanting to make sure don't get caught out with any loose vills, because especially if you're sending a vill from the TC to the centre, it's a long distance.
And he watched daehiise's set in the previous series against Alikog. There was a very fast uptime, and if you've got men-at-arms on your unloomed vills, you're going to lose a lot before you realise what's happening.
Yeah, so Bulgarians obviously super well designed for these fast men-at-arms timings, because they get the men-at-arms upgrade for free. They don't have to invest in resources, and it comes in instantly. So it means that they can sometimes go up that bit quicker and still get good value out of it, because they're not having to invest 140 resources extra.
That could be potentially more army.
Exactly. And it looks like daehiise's actually going to use the barracks as her second building, so hasn't actually gone out and built a lumber camp.
Idling a little bit, waiting for the food to click up.
And there it is. So, 19 pop. Here come the men-at-arms being produced.
19 pop also for Nillis, though.
So, yeah. So Nillis, a bit slower to get the barracks up. Means that probably can't play men-at-arms out of it. Might be a scout.
Scouts, yeah, for
might be a scouts play. Maybe we'll see some villagers go to gold as
Look at that, he's tracking the militia. He can see it coming forwards. That's really good play there. So he knows what's coming.
Yeah, and this is the value of keeping your scout alive. daehiise just being a bit of a nuisance on the barracks, just delaying it, trying to slow things down.
That's also pretty good scouting, though. Seeing that the barracks isn't up means that it's most likely not a mirror men-at-arm fight.
And she is actually getting one of the militia in straight away here as well. So
yep, further delaying. That's pretty good.
So awkward start here for Nillis to deal with.
It's always just difficult when the opponent's being a pest in your eco. And on a map like this, I think this is setting the standard, the tone for the series almost.
Yeah, so daehiise does take a Vil there, does lose the militia as well, but yeah, I think at this stage that's probably a trade you'd accept as more men-at-arms are going to follow.
Bills on the shorefish, losing that hurts, especially if you're going for a food unit.
Yeah, and it is actually, so there are militia being produced here by Nillis.
House wall's pretty strong there. Is that a hole around the side? Or no, daehiise's going back round.
I think that's solid, so.
But can he afford the stable? He needs
he's going for militia. So whether that's a pre-planned.
Okay, he's going to gold. That makes sense. That's a decent counterplay to the men-at-arms. Just put down a range. Don't try and deal with scouts running around. It's hard to play. You don't want to run into any spears that she can make immediately.
As the Vils come forward from daehiise for a tower as well. 4 men-at-arms in already. This is honestly horrible. 5 men-at-arms, more in production as well.
This is her shorefish, I think, is the message we're getting here.
I think, yeah, she wants it. And she's picked off another villager. Should get the scout there as well.
This is where this map gets hard to play.
Yeah, these timings, they hit you before you can even prepare. It's tricky to try and wall out this kind of.
And you've lost all your food eco. You don't want to mill berries early on this map because it's so much worse than the shorefish. But you get pushed off of that. You now need to transition massively into farms, which is slow, both to get up and obviously to collect the resources.
Yeah.
So it's a real big struggle now for Nillis to keep things running.
Yeah, and it's looking nice and smooth at home for daehiise as well.
Managed to afford the lumber cap now.
Thought about an archery range, but has deleted it.
The question is, how do you follow up from here? Men-at-arms, they've served their purpose. Do you keep making?
Looks like she's transitioning into a range. So she thought about building it at home. She's actually building it somewhat forward. So again, wants
the gold. So do you think potentially skirms?
I think potentially even just go for some archers. Double down. You've got small walls being built here to try and keep out the men-at-arms. So
potentially, the men-at-arms have gotten in, so you're denying the gold. If you're Nillis, what do you do from this point?
Struggle is the honest answer.
Making his range. You need the range units somehow.
It is difficult from here. The one thing that's going in favour of Nillis here is daehiise does have quite a bit of idle TC time, but the GG comes in.
It was a very aggressive game, very short actually as well.
Yeah.
You need to get your sort of mental game reset. Look forward to the next map, your home map.
Yeah.
Take a breather between this and the next game and just figure out what you want to do and play your own game.
Yeah. It's a tricky map to start off a series with in some ways because it doesn't give you any sort of room for error.
You need to be warmed up. You need to be ready.
It's a good one to catch people out on.
Definitely.
And
definitely. Something like this. This is going to be a good confidence boost for daehiise.
Yeah.
Having got into that with 1-0 on the board. Looking into, what map was it again?
So we had Neon for Nillis and then Fortified Clearing for daehiise. So both will be a bit of a change of pace from Morass.
Neon might be close.
They are both.
It's not quite so fast, but there's still that centre area of the deer and the berries in the middle of the map, which you're going to be fighting over possibly.
Yeah, we've not seen a ton of plays made for that central food area so far in the tournament. Most people have more or less treated it a bit like
a bit of a neutral zone and don't want to touch it.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to work out the balance for. Because if you overcommit to it, get Vils caught out there. Obviously, they're just really exposed.
Right. Yeah.
It's a bit like, for example, with Valley or somewhere like that. If
something like Kawazan maybe as well.
Yeah. If you send those Vils out to the central food,
it's a bit of a risk.
You need to guarantee you're keeping hold of it.
Well, one of the players is humans here. Is that an option?
It's something I've seen a couple of people speculate about. It's not
obviously you get the cheaper military production, so you don't stay too far behind.
Yeah.
You have extra food income there. It's an open map, so full feudal is always potentially an option.
I think it's something that's got some value in, at the very least, trying. I would be, it's something I would be fascinated to see attempted. The challenge would be obviously for the opponent, how they adapt to it.
Of course, yeah.
Do they look to just try and punish the home eco perhaps,
Yeah,
where there's not so much protection?
Yeah, this would be difficult with no army out early with the open map. It's going to be difficult to keep everything safe.
Yeah, or equally, just the classic, just get up quickly, start siege pushing, and force them into some feudal investment or something like that.
A few man-hours. We're into the second game. We've got Neom here.
So, no Cumans, but Magyars and Franks.
So this is the obvious one that we were avoiding talking about because we've all seen Arabia. We've seen this going to be, we've got Franks with the strong scouts, the strong eco behind it. We've got Magyars with the extra forging to balance that out a little bit, but maybe a bit worse eco.
Yeah.
It'll be probably a very standard game, I would imagine.
Quite possibly. So for those who don't know Neom, as I mentioned earlier, put together by Vinny, and
the wonderful caster from the last set.
Yes, and it's a slightly different style of map. So we've got these 3/3, the two desert areas on the outside and the green grassy area in the middle.
In each corner we've got a pond, and on that pond there's 2 gold barrels each, which makes that a big point of interest for expansion in the mid-late game.
Yep, and big thing with this map, as a few people have discovered in the middle of games, no stone.
No stone, yep.
So, no option for those cheap, less option, I suppose, for those cheap Frank castles, for example, in this matchup. And, we have seen a couple of players get in and look to go for a unique unit play and then fall down.
Fall down, yeah.
So, I trust these two players will have done their research and will know there's no stone. I think, I don't think we're going to...
picked, I think that's quite likely.
Yeah. So, Magyars, as you mentioned, get the free attack upgrades on their units and get...
men at arms or scouts, though?
Yeah, so it does offer that little bit of flexibility.
Do you want to play scouts into Franks in early feudal?
I think with that bonus, it makes it that bit more viable, especially with your scouts being cheaper. It just means you can kind of keep up a bit better than other civs might in the same situation.
One thing worth noting on this map, I believe, is there deer at home as well? There's not.
No deer at home. So all the deer are located in the center of the map, as we see Nillis actually pushing one all the way.
Wow, that's very good.
So we saw daehiise do this in his set the other day. It's one way of taking advantage of the deer.
Well, I mean,
it's a bit of commitment.
It's a fixed TC map though, so you know where your opponent is. You don't need to be scouting for them. So at this point in the game, what are you looking for?
Exactly.
So you might as well. You found all your resources at home. You know where your boars are.
Yeah.
You've got that time to push the deer a bit further.
Yeah, and that's a really good point as well. Actually, that the scouting is a bit different. You're not having to blindly play your way around the map and find someone. You can have confidence that they'll be within X.
So this is some good prep for Nillis here. This is part of the plan, and we see daehiise scouting around the middle. Doesn't see anything there. We've seen some people go there quite early in Dark Age, I think.
Yeah.
So it's worth checking.
And especially with Franks, they've got the bonus for the berries. It's not, it's not necessarily
it's not insignificant, but it's a nice touch if you can get that.
So it's something that you might potentially see someone try at some point is get onto the berries in the middle.
Yep.
And take advantage.
That's illuminating pop. Is that trying to click up? Might be a little bit tight there.
Possibly just a shade early. We'll see. She has got Vils Cube behind it. So
I think you realise that it's a little bit ambitious.
Yeah, especially with no deer at home, those quick up times are just a little bit harder to pull off.
Trying to force drop to click up there. A little bit tight, as you were saying.
So looks like Nillis is looming, ready to go up, and there we go from daehiise. So 19 pop from daehiise.
Been playing a bit more Morass a few too many times, perhaps. Looking for 18 pop timing.
Yeah, and I think from the looks of it, it's probably
nice
just going to be
for Nillis.
it's just going to be a scout opening from daehiise.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't see any early barracks.
Classic scout war from two of our classic scout civs.
Two of our classic scout players as well,
Yeah.
if you know the players.
Yeah, and obviously, scouts into knights is typically quite a comfortable thing for for less experienced players to play. It streamlines the eco and also just streamlines a bit of the unit control.
Knights are a lot easier to play generally.
Yeah, you can run away from fights you don't want to take.
One thing we know from watching some pro games in the past is that Franks struggle to deal with that cavalry archer transition, perhaps.
Yeah.
Which is something that Magyars may want to go into long term to sort of swing the match up in terms of late castle age.
Potentially, and especially with the new team bonus for Magyars, Cav archers produce 25% faster.
Yeah. So that helps them ease that transition period.
It does just make it that bit more viable. So, feud laid for daehiise.
Speaking of the maps, look at that wood line in front of this base. That's
yeah, you get some of these slightly sort of choky, tangled bits of wood line, especially towards the middle.
Potentially, a little bit of walling, and he could wall the entire map off and really change the dynamic of this map that's really open, but into something that's more like a standard Arabia almost.
Oh, daehiise going for the Vil pick off there, and she does get one.
So and get away with the scout as well.
Yep, so scout obviously one hit away from death now, but again, picking off an early Vil, same she did in the first game, just being kind of ruthless, getting value out of those first units.
So we see aggression, but we see Nillis is, he's playing very smoothly. He's got very little idle TC time. As I say that, he's idling TC slightly. But up until now, he's played almost perfectly in terms of Dark Age and eco setup. So that little bit of damage only evens it out, really.
Yeah, obviously Franks get horse collar and all farm upgrades for free, so not having to invest that 150 resources where daehiise has had. So it just balances things out a little bit, as well as obviously the berry income coming in that bit quicker. And that front area for Nillis, with a little bit more walling, like you were saying, can just become very closed off and quite safe.
Yeah, on the other hand, though, I wanted to mention that stable position can be a little bit tricky. You can get your army split up quite easily there, and that can be difficult if you're in a position where you need to defend. I mean, defending with scouts is hard as it is. And when you've got your army on one side and your army being produced coming out on the other side, you need to somehow group them up, or otherwise it can get really tricky.
Yeah, absolutely. So, typically you want to have your stable, well, you want to have it somewhere forward ideally.
Of course, yeah, but that's exactly why he's put it there.
Yeah.
You can't really fault him for that.
But it's one of the occasions where the rule needs to just be a little bit tweaked to make it, perhaps on the side there would be just that bit more accessible for accessing other areas of the map, like you say.
You can see the scouts coming back through his TC. It's a little bit of a longer time. We've got daehiise bringing a spear forwards.
Yeah, so
Two spears for Nillis. We'd like to see them grouped together with the scouts, perhaps, maybe feeling a bit defensive, which is understandable after that first game. But
yeah. Just some very light little trades going on here, though. One scout going down for daehiise, but otherwise just a bit of HP.
A lot more of a cagey game.
Yeah, I think, when it gets into these scout v scout battles, finding damage or meaningful sort of eco damage can just be that little bit harder. And so it tends to be more about these little skirmishes, get a bit of map control perhaps, find out, force reactions like walls out of your opponent.
So we've just seen, as Grandy's highlighted, we've got 12 farms for daehiise already. So despite having a little bit more idle TC time, her macro behind it is really strong, getting the farms up.
Yeah.
A fewer for Nillis, but he's getting there as well. He's getting the walls up, which is arguably more important.
Yeah, and you can just see a bit of wood float for Nillis there. So
that's the difference in the farms, basically.
Yeah, it's just that little bit of stress coming in on the early game, that pressure from daehiise, a product of the action being in Nillis's base rather than in her base, essentially.
As everyone who plays this game knows, it's harder to play in your own base.
Yeah. There aren't many players.
Oh, and we see daisie's found a hole there. She's very active with the scouts.
And picks off another villager as well, so really good value from these scouts.
From Nillis to prevent any further damage.
Sacrifices the villager, but worthwhile sacrifice.
It's the smart play.
Yeah. I mean, she might not see it that way. She might, her family might not appreciate us saying that, but, unfortunately, sometimes you do just have to let them die.
I don't really know how to respond to that.
Nillis now coming forward with the spears, so
He's made himself safe at home. He now feels confident to move forwards.
And that's that's a good bit of game awareness to have. Once you've got those walls up,
they're not offering you anything there.
Exactly, and so it can offer you potential to actually get in on your opponent.
And in this sort of scout war, the spears going forwards make it extremely hard to fight, as we saw at the start for Nillis with the early pressure. Now he's returning the favour, perhaps.
Yeah, you can use the spears to target down your opponent's other spears, so that so spear versus spear. Obviously, the damage output is much different compared to spear versus cavalry. Nillis just going to get a bit of revenge here. Going to take a little.
He only has the one scout, but he's making value out of it.
Yep.
And as you were saying about the spears, it's one of the things that people often underestimate is that forging applies to the spears too for Magyars.
Yep, and daehiise just getting a little bit caught up chasing those spears with some villagers as well. So, the table's just being turned a little bit. Maybe not going to find quite as much eco damage, although another villager might go down here.
Where are these vills going to go? Oh, there's a hole there.
Okay, there is a hole, but does avoid losing more than one. That's good. So
you can see the vills on gold. You can see the blacksmith going up, so he knows that clearly daehiise is trying to pick up the castle age.
And we've got a bit of a stray villager there for daehiise, whether that's just a loose gather point or the game being the game.
Are we going to see some sort of? We need to be a bit quiet about that.
We'll see. So again, those spears just finding value. Some awkward pathing going on with the villagers for daehiise around the gold.
Some holes, and behind this, Nillis has clicked up.
Good timing. So he's going to be in Castle Age just beyond 20 minutes. I'm expecting it'll probably just be a straightforward double stable play, something like that.
He's safe at home and maybe expanding, adding TCs. He's still got the stone. He's got quite a lot of wood banked up.
And still harassing with the spears. More villagers have gone down for daehiise. This is
got some great value there, honestly.
This is proving awkward for her.
She's got the eco balance is a little bit off. Looking for the food. Has a bit too much gold banked up. Maybe feeling the pressure a little bit.
Yeah, and it's again we've seen for both players the value of pressure being in your opponent's base versus being in your own.
We can see that she's realised this as well, forcing the market up to try and click up.
Yeah, I mean that's a perfectly fine response. Just in terms of when you start to float that bit of excess gold or wood or food or anything, having the market available to just smooth things out.
Yeah.
We've heard it for players of all levels. Doubt talks
Doubt's
about
a big fan, yes.
Like as much as it's something that people sort of joke about and meme about, it is a genuine point, as daehiise's units are just a little bit caught in a corner there.
The best I'd love to see a wall behind that.
That would be, that would just be
that'd be a highlight and a half.
I think that would be highlight of the tournament if that could be pulled off, as we're going into knights from Nillis. So again, that sort of smooth linear game plan, scouts, knights, and this is where you need to start making decisions about expansion, for example. So we talked a bit about, you've got the gold off to the sides with this map. How do you want to access your extra resources? Do you want to play it safe? Oh, the scouts are getting in.
It was planned.
There was an overchop, and this is really painful for Nillis.
This is a horrible timing. He wants to go forwards with those early knights. And now he's going to feel like he has to bring them back and deal with these scouts. Yeah, and
the scouts are about to get armor in as well, so going to be even harder to clean up. Can't really fight them with villagers.
Oh, and in onto the gold. That's devastating. Luckily, he's already got quite a lot of gold banked up, so he can evacuate. He could still manage to make some army.
He's getting his spears back as well.
This is exactly what you want to avoid. This is the panic that you really just don't need to be dealing with in a game like this.
Yeah, and the big value here is just
it buys daehiise so much time.
Yeah, and Nillis is eco at this time. So even though he had lots of resources banked up, you can see lots of idle villagers. They're sorting them back out onto their resources will be half of the difficulty.
All these farms are idle. The scouts are still alive, which is really good control. I say that, they've now gone down, but they've gotten so much value.
Yeah, so we saw I think it was another 6 villagers went down there for Nillis. That's costly. And it just changes it just changes the nature of the game. So when Nillis was looking really comfortable, into
definitely.
Castle Age first, getting the military going in a position where he could think about, for example, dropping extra TCs. You might now need to reconsider the approach, whether that's...
He's got 7 knights out, which is quite a lot at this point in the game, so he needs to find some sort of value with them, and I like the response from daehiise to go 3 stables and just equalise that number out and have the eco advantage.
Yeah.
And she's also... Is that an expansion?
So Nillis is adding 2 TCs, so looking to recover things economically, use that initial military just to buy space on the map, essentially. daehiise has spent 5 stone, perhaps on an outpost or something, so will have to buy stone in order to place another TC if she wanted to. So that might be partly why she's gone for that triple stable approach, just to...
You don't need the stone if you're not going to use it anyway.
Yeah.
TCs, so yeah, that makes perfect sense. This
So
is where we see the +2 from the Magyars, especially with the damage that Nillis took and adding the TC. It's going to be hard for him to match those upgrades. So
but Bloodline's not yet in for daehiise, so...
Well, as you say that.
Coming in now, but Nillis, in those engagements, having the 20 extra HP, probably a bit more valuable.
It does matter. We can see as all the knights are highlighted, there is a modest advantage.
Yeah, just a little gentle advantage, but
I like that Nillis is going out as well to the left side, looking for any expansions.
Yeah, so this
bit risky. He knows her army was right there, and she's seen he's going off.
As daehiise's actually now outposting around that area, so using that forward will just to get a bit of vision.
I mean, it's there, and you might as well get some value out of it.
Yeah.
And now the knights are moving up that direction. I think she might have caught with something. That's unfortunate.
This game can be so cruel at times, but then we laugh about the sort of 1 tile missing of vision there, but then the 1 tile overchop at the same time.
So it makes a whole change of difference in the game.
It balances out as more raids come in from daehiise here. Just again, forcing idle time,
killing
inefficiency. It's just so awkward for Nillis being on the back foot here.
This one TC there's a hole as well.
Again.
That's going to be very difficult.
So knight numbers here for daehiise looking really good. She's now outstripping Nillis'
it's a bit base trade.
So this is what we were talking about earlier. How confident are you multitasking?
This is going to be, I think, a big point for this game. As we look at Nillis is idling, daehiise's idling. Who can keep things running and get the reinforcements back in?
daehiise's done a really nice job at the bottom of her map there of just...
And Nillis calls GG.
Yeah. So
pressure's a little bit too much.
Yeah, daehiise did a really, really good job there of minimising the damage from that raid. So yes, the knights got in, but she walled off some of the key resources at the bottom, got the rest of her vills back to the TC, whereas Nillis was just a little bit more caught out.
I think she only lost 1 vill there, which is really, really strong.
Yeah. So another really good, solid performance from daehiise, capitalising on that overchop and really punishing Nillis for it. Unfortunate for Nillis.
It's really unfortunate, especially we have these big trees on stream and we can't really see anything like that. We have no idea what's going on. We thought they were just left there idle. But no, made a huge difference in the game.
And as you mentioned, the timing of it, especially just as Nillis had reached Castle Age.
Just as he's about to hit that power point and move forwards and focus it on her, she hits that timing and brings it right back to his base.
Yeah, it can be a bit gut-wrenching when that happens. You can feel a little bit hard done by sometimes, but it's that balance of being able to pay attention to the different facets.
It's making great use of army that was otherwise relatively useless.
Yeah, but I mean the other big thing we saw throughout that game was the value of being proactive. Yeah. We saw with each player when they were under pressure, their macro started to slip a bit, their unit controllers got a little bit messy. But then when they flipped it the other way, they got value as well. So
both players were very good at proactively, saving units, isolating units to kill from the opponent. And I would like to see a game where a player is able to win from a defensive position. I think, because I think a lot of these in this tournament and a lot of these players at this level, defending is hard, and it's just hard. It's a skill that takes time to learn and develop. And on a map like Fortified Clearing, then maybe that's the sort of place where this sort of thing can show itself.
We have seen a couple of games in other sets where that that sort of slightly more passive, greedy approach has paid off. So Golden Swamp especially, I think, is a map where that skill can really come to the fore. If you can play water and then defend your base at home with minimal input, without having to resort to knight play, crossbow play, or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's a map where you can really test that skill and improve it. And we have seen that a couple of times. It's probably a bit harder when it's a purely land-focused map, though.
Especially on an open map where you can really dictate the tempo with aggressive plays.
Yeah.
So moving forward to Fortified Clearing, we have Burgundians and Humans left for daehiise, and Khmer and Portuguese left for Nillis. I think surely it's a clear Portuguese for Nillis. No,
you say
I'm
that.
wrong. Is this a surprise? I'm surprised.
It's a little bit of a surprise, but I wouldn't have been able to say that with a whole degree of confidence. Khmer do still offer a lot. They're not necessarily a traditional pick for a map like this.
I like Khmer on Arena, those type of maps, but I'm not a clown.
They require a slightly different type of play to what to what the sort of.
There's sort of two approaches you could argue, I think. So on the one hand, you could have the big boom into the strong late game units, the Hussar Flood, the Elephants, maybe some Scorpions perhaps. But on the other hand, you could also have, with their economy, you can do some really nice timing pushes.
Yeah, and it can even just smooth out meta things like light cav play. If you want to play light cav and contest the relics.
On a map like this, that's against Burgundians as well.
Not having to build the barracks, the food income from the farms. It can all be very smooth. Burgundians, we've mentioned it a little bit. For a closed map like this, their eco-techs being discounted and available an age earlier means that you can get really strong eco very quickly.
I think potentially as well in this game currently, it's a fantastic matchup for them.
Yeah, I think
those halberdiers are going to hurt.
Halberdiers, great gunpowder, both the hand cannons and the bombard cannons doing 25% extra damage.
And worth noting as well with the economy, they can match Khmer.
They can, yeah. It takes a little bit more time to get it rolling. I think Burgundians very much a civ that just, the early game can be a bit tricky. It's why they're not so popular on open maps.
And look at this.
Going heavy on food, so.
Quite like Akal's game in the previous set.
Yeah, so there's a couple of options with this, whether it's to try and play some kind of fast feudal, because obviously
look at the map.
No walls around the outside, so you
can't treat this like arena. No,
you do have to think about how you set up your walling. We've seen players suffer from committing too heavily to early walls, so that this might be a way of punishing that attitude.
But
caught out by the ball.
Yep.
It hurts.
All of us. He pulls back the second villager there.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
Bit of the pressure getting to you, maybe.
Yeah, it can sometimes just be, just needs to be careful with the scout here as well.
Careful, brings it back.
Okay. Eats one shot, but not too much more. We've all been there in a tournament where
I've run my scout into the TC in a tournament. Yeah. I didn't pull it back.
Oh,
so
daehiise.
Better than me.
daehiise just dropping a couple of smart little.
Her best little Hera impression.
It's actually quite a smart little play here. She's just trying to trap the scout in the front of her base, I think.
That's very clever actually if she manages to pull it off. But I think she's going for the boar.
Yeah, the boar are quite a distance here actually.
Nillis could get in front of the villa and be a bit annoying. Potentially. Or in front of the boar, in fact, actually.
daehiise paying attention and just microing the villager back as well.
Nillis has found some sheep. And he gets to keep one of them.
That's an interesting little quirk.
Fighting downhill, though. That's
Fusillade. So, it is going to be something quick and potentially aggressive.
On the downside, he's lost his scout, unfortunately. So he's not going to have an idea of what daisie's doing if she's matching. He's not going to have that timing advantage of having a feudal scout to be annoying. His follow-up for this is going to be a little bit weaker.
Yeah. So it's. I'm curious to see what the what the target here is.
So I think with this as well, we can see daehiise just getting double bit axe. Not too familiar with the Burgundians, perhaps, as you'd maybe hope to get that a little bit earlier. But something that you, as a viewer, as a player, you can learning these little niches with the civs is not the most important thing, obviously, but it's a nice little bonus.
Yeah, we've got. So here we go. This is where
Nillis's luck has just been horrendous. I think this game.
Wildlife not being friendly to him. I wonder if
someone's paid off Dire.
We can investigate allegations of match fixing later. So daehiise getting the walls down at pretty much the perfect time.
Just as Nillis hits feudal.
Whether that's potentially
not quite on the left hand side, but she doesn't know that that's not the angle that the attack's coming from.
And of course, one of the things that could be going on here, daehiise might be doing a bit of score watching, seeing when the score drops to anticipate when Nillis clicked up to feudal, or it could just be a bit of sense of, okay, I've got my eco up and running here. I can afford to send out a Vil to go wall out. There's a bit of.
Well, I think, looking at the civs of the game plan, you just want to make yourself safe, really, with Burgundians. Yeah. Your eco's strong. Your late game is perfectly solid. You just want to get to that late game.
Yeah, and
you don't want to die to any shenanigans.
She's clicked up to feudal herself now. Going on stone with a villager?
Possibly some outposts again?
Could be. Or could even just be to stonewall the sides.
That would make sense,
That would be quite a nice option.
Especially versus the fast feudal age.
Yeah, just basically shut it down comprehensively and say...
Don't take any risks.
Yeah. It's something, I think, that just gets a bit underrated at times, that, people get obsessed with...
strong.
Yeah, people get obsessed with, the house walling or the double layer palisade. If you just stonewall, send 2 or 3 Vils to stone for a minute, get the stone in and...
Watch a few Dan MT games.
That might do other things to your brain, but... but yeah, no, it's a nice idea if that's where it's going.
Especially for a tournament game, you're 2-0 up, and it's a play all 3, so the last game does matter. You just don't want to take risks like that when you don't need to. No,
exactly.
You know your opponent's in feudal age, and you've got your eco solid behind it.
Does this need? Okay, market. Nice. So that'll just shut down the aggression from that side pretty comprehensively. And of course, so with Nillis going for that stable forward, it means that going around the other way isn't really a viable option. It's one of the sort of peculiarities of a forward stable.
On a map like this where it's kind of closed,
you're
a little bit limited, but I like that he's only made 2 scouts.
Yeah.
Seeing the walls, he realizes that there's not much value to be gained from this. He's got a solid farming eco behind this, and he's not going to be far behind. And food count rise.
daehiise just outposting through the center of the map.
So that's what the stone's for.
Securing vision. Being it, you can never put too high a price on knowing what's going on. that poor sheep.
Hiding. Well, I mean, he's going to find out.
Pig, sorry. I can read. Sort of. So at least Nillis can confirm here.
Oh.
No, it is walled off.
So he's going to get some information out of that. That's quite valuable. It's useful to have, because a lot of people would just leave that sheep there.
Yeah. So daehiise up to Castle Age. Looks like it's just going to be a bit of a boom, gone for the market and blacksmith approach. So, maybe she might still build a monastery for a bit of, to try and get a few relics in.
Well, I mean, you know where the military is.
You do? Yeah.
You've got the outpost in the middle.
Yeah. And Nillis shouldn't be a million miles behind to Castle Age. That Khmer farm eco recovers the position quite quickly.
Look at that. He's already made the food back.
Yeah. Slightly late to gold here, but...
Doesn't need the buildings to pick up as well. So
no.
He just needs to get that gold in.
Yeah. That's one of the nice things with Khmer, not having to worry about, the investment into blacksmith market. Obviously, he's already got the stable, but didn't have to build barracks for it.
In traditional arena fashion, and he's got the food anyway, do you think it's worth adding a few more scouts?
I would say so, yeah. Just secure map control around the sides. Make sure that daehiise can't just get relics for free.
Through the middle too. I mean, daehiise's walled herself out the sides. Do you want to open that up? So you'd think that perhaps the middle...
just catching the Vil out here as well.
Very good.
It's value.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, just give yourself the best possible chance to recover, I think, is the way I'd view it. Does lose one of the scouts, but will get the scout and the Vil.
So that's pretty good. I mean, he can collect the relics as well. As I was about to say prior to this, daehiise's walled herself at the sides. She can't really expand that way. The way you'd think initially that she's going to go for the relics would be through the middle, which she's outposted and invested into. And putting the scouts there sort of slows that down a little bit, makes it a bit more tricky.
Yeah, so it is just going to be TCs from daehiise. So going to be a bit of a boom approach. Look to access those strong early imp timings that Burgundians have, and the strong late game.
Still with one on stone, do you think she's looking for a fourth TC here, potentially?
Possibly. Nillis just a bit slow to actually click up to Castle here, has been floating the resources for a while. But
as we
is
speak.
there now.
What do you do from this position going forwards? He's got quite a lot of good food deco there backed up. Not a huge amount on wood. Is there something aggressive, perhaps?
I think, given the matchup, I'd be inclined to try and make something happen. Khmer will probably have a difficult time against Burgundians as the game goes on, especially that, like I was talking about, that early imp power for Burgundians, whether that's Paladin.
How do you deal with the Howl bombard cannon?
Exactly, you don't really.
And we see, as Grandy's pointing out, there's villagers moving forwards.
So I think it's going to be doubling down on the aggression.
I think that makes sense.
And I like that decision. I think it's the best way to try and force something out of this game. We've seen as well from the previous games, daehiise will make slip-ups under pressure.
Looks a little bit more shaky when defending,
so,
as we said.
A bit like what you were talking about, how comfortably can players defend at this level and still keep their eco running, their boom going, their game plan intact.
And it's nice just to have a bit of pressure out there on the map and then adding eco behind it.
Yeah.
You can do quite a lot of damage when someone's just straight booming.
Yeah, you get this window where the investment into the town centres and the villages and the eco upgrades as well.
You see daehiise's gone for both the eco upgrades there, got wheelbarrow already, the farm upgrades, so her eco is really strong. One thing I'd like to see perhaps is a market for Nillis.
Yeah, I think just redressing the balance of those resources a bit, being able to
invest it onto the map.
Yeah.
So it looks for probably a siege workshop type of thing, I imagine.
Yeah, so we see he's getting knights going, he's getting upgrades for the knights, and I think he's just dropped something down in the bottom corner as well. There's the siege workshop. So
and I wonder if there's a hole behind that market that he can get through just the palisade.
Ooh.
If so, that might not be as safe as you think it is.
Hard to see from here, but possibly. Either way, once you get Night Siege knocking on your door, you've got to respond
somehow. Night Siege is a difficult comp. You're going to need some monks, probably.
That would be sort of the quick fix, I suppose. If you look at the state of daehiise's eco at the moment,
she has the ability to react to something.
She does, but it will take her time to get something going. So she does drop the barracks now. Okay. And thinking about. I think that was an archery range.
Monastery.
Monastery.
Okay.
Yeah,
but
nice.
I think she doesn't realise this is happening yet. I think this is just
the
plan is just go for the relics.
Yeah, she doesn't see it. So it's an interesting question actually. She's outposted the middle. Would it have been good value to put an outpost or two just on the sides, just on the edge of your wall?
And as Brandy's just highlighted here, she doesn't know the stables here.
Exactly. So. And can range the TC with the mangonel as well.
Annoying. Forcing the siege workshop up, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
It's still wall for now, so the mangonel's perfectly good choice for defending.
Yeah.
But when you've got 2 or 3 mangonels for Nillis.
And it's another interesting question as well, actually. Would you prefer to be attacking the town centre here, idling it, potentially killing it, forcing investment, or would you prefer to try and get through the wall?
I think it depends on how many knights you have. The TC's right there. You haven't got quite the upgrades on the knights yet, perhaps. You might want to wait for a few more. The TC is going to draw more attention, perhaps, or no. Actually, I think hitting the walls will draw more attention.
I think it would force a more immediate
Yeah.
reaction, and we are actually seeing he's opting for both.
I think that's behind the TC, or behind the walls rather, so you have to be aware of that potentially for that farm there,
Yeah.
blocking any rewalls behind the house.
And the thing as well here, so repairing a town centre is costly.
It's very expensive.
So even though, yes, you want to keep the town centre alive.
For now, one mangonel, do you need to be repairing it perhaps?
Possibly not, and it looks like Nillis is actually going to break in at the bottom there. So playing one TC for now, not adding any eco at home, just going for this aggression.
We're going to have a mangonel dance, and it's
So
opened up.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go. The charge of the light brigade.
And I'd
More
like
of a heavy brigade, but
I'd like to see him spread a couple of nights out and look around for damage, I think.
and this is going to be really tricky for daehiise to deal with. She doesn't have much in the way of defence here. She's been caught in that awkward middle ground where you've got the boom going,
but you don't
you've
have
not.
anything behind it yet.
And she tries to get the defensive castle up.
Some good quick walls.
Some
She
really
gonna
good
finish
quick walls.
that
I
out?
wonder if Nillis could have taken out the gate there, but he can get round the back still. Can he get in? Oh, more quick wall attempts.
Gates cancelled.
Oh,
This is gonna be a
I think
costly castle.
the castle is going to go up, but
At what
there might be
cost?
quite a few vills down. I think Nillis could have committed there. He could have committed and got a few more vill kills. He's still getting really good damage in here.
The villagers
This is
seem
an
to-
excellent raid.
They're walled in now, though, so that castle will complete, and that will save a lot of the economy for daehiise.
And we can see the town centre on the right-hand side has gone down to the mangonels in this time.
This is some great pressure.
The vills from that TC have had to flee across the map.
Look at that eco KD. All of a sudden, this game is evening out.
Yeah, really, really good timing from Nillis on getting this attack going. Just needs to be a little bit careful not to stay too long, especially with only one armor on the knights.
But he's still spreading out, he's finding more damage on
Yeah.
the stone. The
And-
mangonels coming in behind. That might be a bit difficult to deal with the Custodier.
Yeah, the
Those are
custodian.
an annoying, unique unit.
This is where Nillis having a monk or two of his own would
Or just
potentially.
possibly bring the Vil forward and build a few more buildings in here.
Yeah,
Like, that castle defends one spot, but you can go around the side.
yeah. There's scope to. I mean, you can go out around the bottom and get in on the wood line and the TC there, or around the
Deny
top.
the stone from the top.
I think
We see a lot of idols here
I
for
think what
daehiise.
I'd
This pressure is doing a lot of damage.
what I'd have really liked actually is another couple of stables.
I think, yeah, double down on it.
I
But
think
he's taken everything off of wood, you can see on his eco balance.
yeah,
there.
he's remained one stable for this push, which just means it's once those initial numbers have gone, he's not had the ability to replenish it. Even though if you look at his eco, he's got the resources.
Do you go for a quick imp behind this? Looking at the resources, he's banking up quite a lot.
That might be the approach. A little bit. I think the challenge with that would be what you can do with that
Yeah,
imp.
of course.
He is on stone now, so
It looks like he's walling off the right-hand side behind this push, which I
Yeah.
like that quite a lot.
yeah,
I think if you'd look at like a 2K2 player with this sort of push, they'd have made this sort of damage and then added the TCs behind it and sort of get the eco back in this way while the pressure is happening and losing all.
and there's
all
the click
eco
up.
there. Click up.
So he's on
Oh
stone.
wow!
He's clicked up.
There's gonna be a forward.
There's going to be a
castle.
forward castle, and then
Using that map control that he's got to cement that forward position, he's essentially walled daehiise in on the right-hand side.
yeah,
She can't expand that way. She can expand to the left, but what is there really there? And
There's-
again, do you want someone that's got, they've destroyed one of your TCs, they've broken into your base, forced a defensive castle. Do you want to open the walls on the other side? That's
it
a
would feel
massive
risky,
risk.
wouldn't it?
You don't know what he's got there.
No.
You've got no vision.
As daehiise adds a TC back in that spot, says it was a very good spot. Thank you very much. I'll have another one.
Just using the Custodier there to explore out and see what there is.
So
How much danger
Yeah,
comes from this
I mean
area.
things like clear out any forward villages that are still there as well. I think daehiise just needs to rebalance her economy a little bit. She's
Just-
just
yeah.
floating a bit of gold, food
I
count.
think you have to,
up
in
a
this
little
sort of
bit.
position, the dangers seems to have passed. You have to question what are they doing next. You have to ask yourself, put yourself in your opponent's shoes. What do they want behind this?
As we see a villager, we see
A
one
villager.
villager.
The monks out
The
there.
others just sneaking
Splits.
around.
It's quite well done.
Has daehiise done enough to draw them out?
There
There is an outpost.
There's
This
outposts on both sides. This is quite good planning. So she should
Yeah.
see the villagers there. But does she have enough to stop this?
I think it's going to be a question of how good Nillis's quick walls are around the castle that he builds. He needs to get the building down soon.
Doesn't see the outposts, which is
No.
the problem. He needs to get the castle up soon. He's
Yeah,
almost
so he's
in imp.
hitting imp, doesn't have the castle up yet. That's possibly just a bit distracted by other things which are going on.
Here we go.
There we go. That monk there as well could be very handy to try and...
Just click all the villagers.
Yeah, I mean, there's
There
the
we go. Oh,
yeah,
look at that, look at
yeah,
that.
there we go.
Daisy knows the secrets. She's a clown in training.
We'll see that, you know, that mouse hand flying all over the place, getting through all the villagers.
Where are the Castilia? We need them
And
here
it's-
now.
Yeah,
I like how he's pulled the villagers to kill the monk. That's great.
a nice little touch, that. But the big thing is, while that's going on, the Custilier weren't actually involved in the fight. You know, if those couple of Custilier were there sooner, could have potentially just denied the castle in
You'd
its
feel like that
entirety.
would have to be game at that point. Go
Might
for the,
still deny the
go
stables.
for the stables or just going
Oh,
forwards?
just passing. Ah, no, they'll circle back, but the castle is up
The
now,
castle's
so
up. Daisy's also up and has a lot of eco behind it.
and is building a couple of petards to go around the outside. That's
a
again,
good idea.
it's. Oh, I thought for a second it wasn't going to have done enough.
But I mean, when you know your opponent's on this sort of push, it's really good awareness to realise that you can hit them at home too. And Nillis
the
calls
GG's
GG.
called.
It's a strong effort for his first tournament set, I think.
Yeah.
As well, for low seed, he deserves a round of applause.
Yeah, a
Really
really
strong
nice set. You know, obviously Daisy does come into this set as the higher seed, the favourite.
Peak rating as well is a couple 100 points higher, so you always expect, knowing that this is most likely to be a victory for her. Because
Yeah.
you want to get your experience in, you want to get, look forward to the future sets for your opponents and figure out where you're comfortable.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for Nillis that he can take from this is he's grown into the set. You know, a little bit shaky in game one, struggled with that early
He
aggression.
played really well in game two and was very unlucky I think,
Yeah.
to have that swing back so fast.
Yeah, that one without that overchop would have
I
been
think he's in a really
lot
good spot in
tighter.
that game. He had a great setup.
And then game three, put himself in an excellent position, just perhaps lacked a bit of the game experience to know how to capitalise.
How to carry on with this from this point, having killed 15, 20 villagers.
Yeah, and for Daisy, really, really strong, aggressive play in game one. Showed just the value of being in your opponent's face.
And very active in game two with the scouts as well.
Yeah.
Getting great value. I mean, both players honestly got great value out of their army that they made.
Yeah, and then game three, having showing a bit of nerve. It can be stressful, difficult when you have to deal with those kind of raids coming in, that slightly surprise pressure coming in. But she reacted pretty calmly in the circumstances.
She had a great game plan and she managed to react well enough to defend the pressure.
Yeah.
Getting that castle up with the quick gates at the end, securing that could have been gone a lot worse.
Yeah, and so that sets Group C up quite nicely.
Alakog obviously winning 2-1 in the first series.
Yep.
Against daehiise, and then Tomerd as the fourth player that we haven't seen today.
Yeah, so it's all playing out nicely.
It's a very competitive group, I think. All the players have chances, and I think Nillis is definitely capable of taking games against any of these players.
Yeah, no, I think we've seen there's great ability and preparation across the board, and I think we are gonna get
to you for an interview, perhaps.
A little interview with our winner Daisy. So I'll hand over to Walt.
Okay, hello. Well, Daisy, 3-0 victory. Doesn't get much better than that. First of all, I'll start with the draft. How do you feel the draft went? Were you happy with the draft? I know Japanese on Morass, we talked about it a lot recently. That obviously went Nillis's way. Would you like to pick that up yourself, or what were you thinking?
I don't think my draft was very good. I was hoping to get either Japanese or Lithuanians, and I didn't get any of them.
Ooh, okay.
So that was going to be my next picks, and I expected Marlins to be sniped. I lost really bad to Marlins, so I thought, if I pick it, it's gone. Then the other ones I wasn't sure about. Gummer, I don't know. I didn't know what to expect. I thought he was just going to boom.
Yep.
And I think Burgundians is better on this map. But I didn't know if he had some strategy planned after, so I didn't want to pick humans and then I don't know, be trushed or or sneaked or something like that. So I think he drafted very well. I was not super happy. Mullions is, at least he got sniped because I didn't want to really play it either.
Yeah, I was going to say where you were thinking of playing them, but no, absolutely fair enough. But you showed that it's not just Japanese on Morass that you're very adept with, Bulgarians too.
Yeah, but they're the best ones. You can do one
they're
bill faster.
They're the best, yeah. So Bulgarians, just one bill later, it's exactly the same strategy as
I don't know, I think if you don't have the fish, I think you have lost because you don't have the fast food income.
Absolutely.
And I don't know what he had in his barracks. He had something in his barracks for very, very long, and it never came out. And I was kind of expecting like 5-minute arms to come out at some point.
Yeah.
But then I never saw it, I think.
No, you did such a good job of denying him the res that it was they didn't really have the chance to get the army going. So Neon was the next map, and that kind of maybe was arguably the closest one, actually. It ended up in a bit of a base straight, and you were frustrated at the end of feudal age for you, with the spearmen keep coming back and forth, blocking you, building the house.
I kept ungarrisoning the Ville per accident and kept going back to build that house, and that was a bit dumb. And I think my eco was really bad in feudal age. I was really late.
Yeah.
He was much faster. Even though I killed Vills, he was much faster, so he had much better eco. And I just didn't eco well. I should have been up much faster. I had lots of gold but no food.
Yeah. So and we haven't seen that much Neon, but there's been some different thoughts on how to play it. Magyars versus Franks. Clearly, both of you thought Scouts into Knights was the way to play the map. Do you have any sort of people who played Mayans on Neon? I mean, how do you think the map should be
So I
played?
thought, because he's Franks and he's going to make Knights and his Knights going to be better than my Knights.
Yeah.
Originally, the plan was to switch into Pikes at some point.
Okay.
Because you can't make castles, so you can't make throwing axemen because there's no stone. I mean,
Ah,
you could
right.
make something else, but that's
Okay,
what people then, what I usually lose to when I then go Pikes and then they make throwing axemen.
Yep.
But I think I didn't think I was in a good position, so I just tried to make the army that I had the buildings for.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky to get a few Ville kills after I forgot to do Bloodlines, which was also not very good. I think I got a bit lucky because if I also don't know if he maybe resigned a bit early because I lost a lot of Vills and he had 3 TCs and I only had 1 TC.
Yeah.
It wasn't gonna go better later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe a bit early.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then we end up in game 3. Were you surprised to not see Portuguese?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was expecting Portuguese, and that's why I didn't pick humans because I think it sucks if you humans against Portuguese.
Yep.
And I wanted Turks, and I think I play a lot of Turks, so maybe he saw that, and then he banned Turks.
Yeah.
That was sad. I love Turks, and then my Burgundians build was not amazing, but I think if he had been attacking earlier, I would have been maybe more dead. Or if he kept coming in, at some point he kind of went back.
Well, you palisade walled right as he was ready to come in.
Oh, okay.
So
it was gonna go actually
and
inside.
That forward stable was the first stable. So once that wall was there, you didn't really have any other option until.
Okay, I was a bit afraid that he would sneak because his scout was there very early. And I was scouting around to see a Ville, and I didn't see any. And at some point, I was like, okay, maybe he was just scouting. And then I didn't expect any. Then I didn't think anymore because I was in booming mindset without thinking too much about strategy. So I also didn't have a castle. Otherwise, I should have made a castle to already have it. But it was a bit of a panic.
Well,
a little bit.
It was good enough to get the job done. 3-0 victory. Very well done. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yep.